All right, Sci-Fi Express Lane. I'm trying this new angle. It gives you a wider view of how I drive and all this other stuff. But I want to express myself. This angle is a little easier to edit if I want to edit some stuff later on. We'll see. I don't know. Anyway, I'm expressing myself on this Sci-Fi Express Lane today with a question that I ask myself often. I've asked myself, I don't think it's often. I think about it often, and I probably reinforce it often. But students ask me, kind of people that have never met a writer before, say, yeah, why are you writing? Why do you write? And I thought about it the other day, and mostly because my wife and I were talking about my son, and he was like, yo, he's an amazing storyteller. And I remember when I was younger, I still recognized that I was a good storyteller. I could tell something exciting. I joke about how my cousin and I used to tell stories or tell the movie that we saw so well that it was better than the movie that we saw, you know. And I think my son has that ability, and just speculating about it. Imagine if he does become a writer and he is able to tell stories amazingly. And, you know, for me, it took me maybe 20 years. Wow, now I'm going to say, 20 years before I wrote my first screenplay, and another 10 years after that before I wrote my first book. So it took me a while to really recognize that. You know, I remember in the early days, I was also talking to one of my poets, shout out Tammy Carr. My early days, I worked with comedians, you know, and I always had a sense of humor, and I thought that stand-up comedy would have been the direction for me, and I just don't think I had the ego for it. You know, I think I can be funny enough to, you know, and learn to develop joke writing, and I do certain writing on that level anyway, but I think I could always do it. But I started off taking comedy classes at the Uptown Comedy Club, and I thought that would have been the direction for me. You know, that's where I met Tracy Morgan, J.B. Smooth, Ian Edwards, Will Silvers, Brooklyn Mike, and a whole bunch of others, Monterey Ivy, Crazy Sam, you know, a whole bunch. Shout out to the whole Brown Brothers collective. You know, I started there, right, in 1990. Right, as soon as I graduated college, I went to the Uptown Comedy Club, and that kind of wasn't working for me, you know. It just was, I got too nervous on stage. I didn't have a coach. I didn't have a circle of homies. I didn't really believe I could do it, right? And that's kind of been my problem all along. Fortunately, with writing, it's private, and I didn't start doing it until I got married. So I had a real good cheerleader in my wife early on, and I had a son, so my ego was strong, you know. But back to why I write. So I got into writing, and I started feeling different energies from it, you know. There's a feeling that you get when you tell a joke and you make people laugh. It's instantaneous, and I love it, you know. I remember just the other day I posted, my mother would have been 117 today, you know, and this is a classic joke story where, you know, you tell something in story form straight, and then you wait for the people to laugh. And my neighbor was like, oh my God, she was in really good health. She looked, you know, how old was she when I met her? Like 98? Oh, she had to be like 106. My mother died 8 years ago. No, she died in 2006, right? So that's 14 years ago, right? 16 years ago. Right? So she would have had to been 101 when she died. So, and that would have made me, like, I'm only 50 something, 54, right? So it would have made me like have to be like 80, myself, So that was hilarious, and I just laughed at who took that and fell for that bait. And that's a long joke, right? So it's like 2 days later, people were still getting it. Somebody even might comment on it now. That seed was planted. But with comedy, stand-up, you get it right away. With movies, you have to write your joke and wait for people to watch it and then enjoy them laughing at it after it's been through beat downs after beat downs. And that's a different experience. Books is even more different. Comic books are sort of in between. It's very much like books. Sometimes you never see the people's reaction. You don't get any gratification. And sometimes if you do, you only see it when they come to your table or they come to a book signing and say, I thought that was funny. Now, some people write reviews and you'll see the review on Amazon and they may have bear witness, like in, it happened on Negro Mountain. I had a funny, I had a girl fighting her hair weave, and that is funny, for me, but I never got to see anybody laughing from it, So it takes away a little bit of gratification. So anyway, how do I get into writing, or why do I write? And if my son was to write and become this big writer like my wife asked me, would I still write? And the answer is yes. Do I think writing is my calling? I don't know if that is the case, but I do enjoy it. It is something I get out of it. If I was to answer the question, why do people write? I would generalize it by saying they have a burning story in them, a burning passion to tell people stories, and that's why they do it. Because whether it comes immediately when you're telling the story on stage as a stand-up comic, or you never hear it, like in writers. Sometimes writers never hear it. Or you have to wait months, years, like filmmakers have to do. You still know there's a reaction, right? And you want to get that out there. Whether it's a feared reaction or it's paranoia, unsettling, laughter, there's a reaction. So for some reason, you want to create those reactions. So that's why you write, even if it's interest, even if you want to snitch, there's a reason why you want to tell a story. And that's burning, that's something that burns inside you. Now, I don't know if that's the right answer. Let me not say. I don't know if that's everybody's reason. I just think those are some of the reasons, and those are some of the reasons why I write different stories. Like a story will come to me and I'm like, I gotta write it. Now I recognize that feeling and I manifest it through writing, whereas somebody else may get the feeling they've never written before, so they don't know and they just let it go as a passing thought. Same, in Uptown Comedy Club workshops, we were slated to write a joke a week. I think the workshops was on Sunday, and every Sunday you had to go in to write. You had to write a new joke, and you could stick around. If you came to the workshop, you could come to the comedy show for free. And I tried to do that, and I still do that. For some reason, that summer that I spent working with the Uptown Comedy Club, it changed my thinking, because not only did you have to think of a joke, you had to tell it on stage. And you didn't know I don't even know if they called on everybody, but I do think Monteria and Andre were like precise. Like the pressure was real. Andre and Kevin came from martial arts schools, and they they were hard on discipline. Like, I'm from the suburbs, and my cousins, shout out 145th Street, Carroll family, Broadway in Amsterdam. My cousins went to a cadet corps, and every time we tried to get together to do something on the block as young men that was serious, we always either defaulted to military discipline. Listen up, guys. I'm talking to everybody. Line up, and it was serious. Almost none of us went to college. We was too young, so it wasn't like we was pledging each other, but it had that military discipline, right? It's the same discipline that the Brown brothers brought to the comedy workshop. Yo, you serious about it? And I think in a way that's how we made it out of our problems in the hood, is that we really brought some form of discipline to our silliest things, even hip hop, right? Yo, we're gonna do this rap. What you doing? Give me push-ups. Whatever it was, we were serious about it, and I think that military discipline rolled over. So that discipline in me, it's like I never went to the military, but I make my bed if I gotta, make a bed tight like the military, and I never been, it's crazy. But like, here's a good example. Yesterday I was in Whole Foods, and some people had their masks on, some people didn't. And the people that had their masks on walked around, and people that didn't have their mask on, like they had like they had corona or some other type of virus. And these are, this was in an affluent community, so it made me laugh. And I was like, God is a comedian, or the universe is a comedian, because you can only bad things are like contagious. You know what I'm saying? Only bad things are contagious. You don't see people, have good health and that be contagious. Only when people have bad health. You know what I'm saying? It's not like somebody, like intelligence is contagious, although they argue it, but you never hear people say, uh-oh, I just walked by that guy, now I can speak better. You know what I'm saying? Or, that lady smiled at me, now my cough has gone away. There's, you can only messed up things are contagious. And that's messed up. You know what I'm saying? Because if anything shouldn't be contagious, it shouldn't be something bad. Golly, what kind of world invention was that? We got all types of germs, you know what I'm saying? And only the ones that hurt you are the ones that are contagious. I don't even know. I bet you there's a PhD so that's my joke, right? And I stepped all over it. But if I was to tell it on stage, I'd pause, I'd punctuate, probably even think of better examples as I go along, and I'd emphasize things, so you see comedians do it, but I just ran through the joke. And some people still might find it funny. But in reality, I recognize it's a joke, but it could also be something that a PhD candidate might say, you know what? Let me go look and see if healthy germs are contagious as unhealthy germs. And that can be their whole thesis, right? They have to go out and answer that question. So I'm actually going to put it in one of my stories, because I'm not a stand-up comedian, and I'm not going to get my PhD, but I am a writer. So I may have a character that's going to get their PhD, or just somebody who thinks this, because it's a beautiful thing to think. I just got to make sure that I write it down and write it in a way that is associated with whatever character that I think it should be associated with, because, you know, note-taking is a skill. So for me, sometimes when I think of ideas, and I know I'm way off topic, but I know I'm interested, I have to make note of them in a way that I don't forget about them, because if I think of stuff, I think of things randomly. So my files on my computer are my clearinghouse, and maybe I'll do a whole blog on note-taking for writers. But right now, I just wanted to deal about some of the reasons why I write. And please like, share, and subscribe to Sci-Fi Express Lane. I'm Jeff Carroll. I got a Kickstarter. I'm running this. The link is below in the description. Please check out my latest project. All right. Touch base with you later. Oh, and comment. So let me see if I could turn it off with just this. Nope, I gotta touch it.